So, welcome to another edition of Open for Business. And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Davana Pilczuk. And she is a kinesiologist and human performance consultant here to speak to the small business community on what tips and advice do you have for managing your team during this unprecedented time in history. Welcome to Open for Business.
Hi there.
Hey there. So, what kind of tips do you have?
Okay, well, real quick, I'll give you a little background myself. I'm a kinesiologist, which basically means my background is actually in helping people perform in the sports world. And so I take the concepts from sports psychology and understanding the physiology of the body, and I teach it to businesses. And so the things that I teach, a lot of people don't know and understand. And so just with everything that's going on in this world, it's unprecedented. And so how we handle it, people are going, I have no idea because we've never done this before. And so I want to help some small businesses, big businesses, and everybody in between with some of the tips that we've got today. And so the first one is you need to understand that even if your business is doing fine, meaning there's no layoffs, you're making a profit, people are still stressed right now. And so I think the two biggest stressors are, am I going to get sick, or one of my immediate loved ones going to get sick? And the second is, am I going to lose my job, or is something financially going to hit us? And so even if those two aren't happening, you're still feeling it every day from being, the social isolation of the social distancing. You've got kids at home going to school every day that now you've got to manage. You've got spouses or loved ones that are now staying with you at home every day. And so those types of things are actually causing your employees to feel stressed. Even just going to the grocery store, when you get there, they're out of half the stuff that you need. And so at the bare minimum, even if your job is safe, you still feel this underlying stress every day. And I want business owners to remember that.
What are the symptoms of stress? I know everybody knows it, but there might be some that we don't recognize.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ones you may not notice, actually, one of the first ones is, how are you sleeping? Because when we're feeling anxious and stressed out, sleep is one of the first things it's a giveaway that if you're struggling, falling asleep, or you fall asleep, but all night long, you're kind of waking up and you wake up feeling unrested because you feel like that level of anxiety has kept you up all night. That's one of the first clues. The second is if you're noticing just small aches and pains, or maybe you have a sinus infection, a little minor cold that won't go away. The immune system, when we're under chronic stress, actually begins to be suppressed. And so signs and symptoms of just minor illnesses will start to come up more. And those are some key indications that you need to take a break.
So when you meet with businesses, what's the first thing that you do when you go in?
When I go in, I want to talk to the people and find out, how are you feeling? What's going on with you guys? Are you working long hours? And often we're terrible determinants of our stress levels. We tend to push through. Our society says, you got to push through, you got to be tough, you got to be strong. And people say, oh, we're working, we got to make those donuts every day, so to speak. But sometimes you actually need to step back and take more breaks. And so I ask, how is the workload? And if they have long hours or the stress level is high with the work itself, you actually need to take more breaks. And so that's what I ask people. How are you taking breaks? And are you slowing down a little bit? And it gives me an idea of what the stress levels are.
So when somebody is so stressed out, it seems like they can't let it go. It's like they're always thinking about it. What advice do you have for that? I mean, I guess a lot of that is stress and fear, and how do you keep them in the actual now instead of worrying about what if?
Ah, yes. The what ifs. That's also known as anxiety. Anxiety is defined by what if. Anxiety is all about the future. So we tend to feel out of control and more stressed and more anxious with the things in our life that we feel we don't have control over. The less control you feel in a situation, the more anxious you're going to start to feel. So what I tell people is, if you're feeling anxious about your finances, now is actually the time to sit down and start to figure them out.
Be
If you're
proactive.
feeling anxious about your health, now is the time to sit down and figure out, do I have my medication? Can I start to walk every night? Can I start to eat a little bit better? But until you start to take some control of what you can control, that anxiety level is going to stay high.
I would imagine that activity of doing, getting to work on your finances and actually doing stuff would make them stop thinking about the what ifs. Would that be a strategy, is actually get active, get involved?
Yes. And so
worry.
Yes. And so we tend to worry more and more about things that we've not really actively started to take control of. And so one of the things I recommend to businesses is, although it seems weird, right now bring in a stress coach. Right now bring in a financial advisor to your team. Don't leave it up to them, because when we're in a stress response, and by that I mean the fight or flight response, and that's kind of located in the middle of your brain, the primitive part. It's really great with focusing on danger and fear, but it's not real logical. And so what you do when people are feeling stressed is you just give them the resources. You say, here is a financial advisor, here is a stress coach, and you actually get them to start to think more logically and start to problem solve what they're dealing with, versus just going, oh, I don't know what to do. You got to start to break it down and do something about it.
So you're actually giving them some direction.
Yes.
And a checklist of things to do. What do you tell them about food? What kind of food should they be eating? I mean, does sugar cause more stress? Does junk food? Does snacking? I mean,
great question. Yeah. So one of the things I think is kind of a blessing with the situation right now is you have so much free time at home now. If you are working from home, start to cook better and start to look at foods that you can make. Yeah, like find the advantages in this situation, that instead of focusing on the what ifs and things I can't control, I can, to your point, look at the foods that I'm eating. And there's lots of foods that, the science is showing that inflammatory foods and sugars in there, but foods that irritate the gut and the body that aren't good for us, lots of caffeine, alcohol, things like that, processed foods. If you can move away from that and get more of the whole healthy foods, and the best way to do that is just stay on the perimeter of the grocery store. So everything you need, think about it, dairy, meat, veggies, fruit, it's all on the outside. Your grains, stay there and cook fresh. And that alone will start to help your body, because the body has a stress response even when it's inflamed. It's just a physical response versus like an emotional response, but it still eventually affects your mood and how you feel and how you sleep.
It's interesting. I started using the delivery service because that's the right thing to do right now. And I bought only fresh stuff. It was so much easier to go through the list and buy just what I need, instead of going, oh, I need that and that and that, like when you're at the actual store. So I actually like the online shopping. I had never done it before.
Yeah, I haven't tried it either, but my neighbors said they love it. They look forward to it. And it's also we're social beings. And so if you can make those delivery services a time to cook together and, again, find the positive in this situation, it'll lower your stress levels and you'll be physically feeling better.
So just as a side tip, Instagram, when they text you that they're starting to shop, you can actually text them back and say, thank you. And they text you back and forth saying, oh, they're out of this. Is this okay to get instead? And they'll send you a picture. I mean, if you engage with them, they'll actually shop with you. So I can get exactly what I want. I'll say, no, just skip that altogether. Or, yeah, can you go get something else? So it's really
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too. So I know a lot of people do stress eating, just big things like popcorn or whatever. What would you say about breaking that bad habit?
Well, I'd like to see everybody do stress walking.
Okay.
That's one of the best things I've noticed, and I'm sure other people have noticed it too. I've seen more neighbors and physical people walking around. I mean, you hear them at night, or when you go out for your walks, if you do that. But now I actually see them, and so they're everywhere. And so I want to see people actually get off the couch, get out of the house, and just walk your neighborhood. If you can go for a run, go for rollerblade, bike, but just go out. One, you break when first of all, when you feel that need to eat, drink something, by water, when I mean drink something, not wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we often feel hungry when we're really just thirsty. So do that first. But
Okay.
the second thing is we tend to stress eat at certain times of the day. And often if we've skipped breakfast or lunch, it's in the evenings. Try to eat a little. Yep, we all do. Try to eat a little something, but go for a walk. And the thing is that in order to help with stress, nature, again, looking at science, nature has such a calming effect on the body. Physical movement of us, getting out there and exercising a little bit creates chemicals that calm us down. And so if you could start to do that in the evenings, then see if that stress eating starts to calm down. But I bet it will. You just got to get up and change
Yeah.
your technique.
How many steps? I guess it's different for everybody, but how many steps a day do you recommend?
I actually try to go more for time, because of people's jobs and things like that. And now that we're stuck at home, getting in all those steps might be hard. So what I've personally been doing is in the morning, I go out for 30 minutes before the kids get ready to go to school, which is really just rolling out of bed. And then in the evenings after dinner, I say, okay, guys, we're going to go out. We're going to have a family walk. So if you can just break your day up a little bit, go outside and garden. So maybe move from the steps to just time. So if you can get in an hour a day in certain increments, that's fine.
So how important would weightlifting be at this point? Because I know, especially women my age, that, that's super important. So do you have any tips on how to maintain your body during this time when you can't get to the gym? And I definitely don't have a gym at my house.
Yes. Use what you got. Your body weight is enough that you can do things like wall push-ups. You can get in a door frame or on a door, and you just put your hands up and you press on the wall.
Great idea.
If you have an island in your kitchen, do this push-ups on the island so that it's a little bit of an angle, but you're not on the ground.
Right.
You can go on your back patio and do lunges, anything like that. Again, physical movement will reduce your stress, but especially for those of us who are over 40, and especially women, you're going to start to lose bone mass and muscle mass. So you still have to do those at least twice a week, those strength training activities. Take little cans of soup, do little bicep curls with soup, hold your bottles of bleach that you went and bought. Use those things to do little whatever you got to do. But yeah, keep doing some strength training.
So I, we've all been listening to the radio and they're saying, COVID's going to kill this many people, but so could depression and suicide. I mean, God forbid somebody gets to that point, what recommendations do you have for somebody who's feeling very dark and very scared and very fearful?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think one of the things that's going to come out of this that no one has really started to talk about, or I haven't heard, is the aftermath when you go through chronic stress, and kind of think of PTSD, because it's not just for soldiers. When you're chronically stressed, it really does break down the mind and the body. And so I think we're going to see a rash of people dealing with really recovery from trauma. Our healthcare workers, our first responders, the grocery store, where everybody who's in it right now, I think is going to have some form of like a PTSD. And so what I'd like to see is businesses get in front of this. Don't let your people just kind of go on, and then all of a sudden we go, oh my gosh, something happened to this person. Businesses, I think we have a responsibility from just an ethical, humanitarian standpoint of care for your people now. Give them, again, those resources, the financial, partner them up with people, bring in coaches or therapists, but start to help people now before we ever even get to that point, because this is going to be a marathon. This is not going to be over, even if they lift the social distancing ban at the end of the month or next month. We're going to be through months, even years of recovery financially, all of us having to find jobs that have been let go. It's going to be hard. So the best way, we always talk about this, best medicine is prevention. So we're in it now. Let's start to say, hey, let's start addressing these things. And companies have got to stop. They do this. They don't want to talk about it because it's touchy-feely. But this is the performance of your business depends on the performance of your people. So get in front, help them first, and then your business will thrive.
That's really good counsel. really good counsel. So with the social distancing, how have you been able to help businesses? Are you using Zoom? How are you doing that?
Using Zoom, just conference calls, FaceTime, anyway. What I'm trying to do is actually force myself, even with my neighbors, we sit in the middle of our yards and we yell about what we've done for the day. But we have realized we really need that connection. So if you're living at home without family or children and you are alone, at some way you do have neighbors around you. And you see the little sidewalk chalk writings that people are starting to put out, but make a date. Make wine Wednesdays, and you call your girlfriends on Wednesday evenings and you all talk about, your favorite type of wine, or you have, cookout Fridays and you Zoom with your family members. But even if we can't have that physical connection, we've got to have that, just that verbal connection of you're going to be okay. And I see your face and you see mine. We have to still do that part.
I know it helps me tremendously to see my daughter, who's 1,600 miles away from me, just to see her. I asked her to check in every day just to see how she's doing and how I'm doing. So
yes,
it's really
and make that
reduce my stress just by seeing her.
Yes. And I want people to make that, like, put it on your day planner. 10 o'clock, call daughter. It's just like an appointment. You stick to it. It helps when you're stressed to have structure, but it greatly helps to have pleasure and happiness. So schedule in your happiness.
Do you think I know being confined and not having a schedule, that could probably lead to stress. It's just like, what do I do?
Yeah, it does. And even if you're retired right now, still you need to have structure, because when we're under stress, the brain is always trying to solve problems and search for things. And so when you add structure in, it gives it something to focus on. So even if you have no job to go to or no one else to care for, you get up at a certain time every day. You do the shower and the daily ablutions. You do the little bit of house cleaning from 9 until 10:30, but you structure in things that you have to accomplish every day. Plus, it gives you that sense of accomplishment at the end of the day of, hey, I cleaned out the pantry. It looks better. You have to give yourself something to look forward to. And the best thing that you can do when you're under stress is live for now. Don't think about what we had. Don't think about the what ifs. Live right now. And so the more stress that you're under, the more you live for the moment. So if today's feels overwhelming, then we live for this hour.
So how do you actually do that, Davana? I mean, would you recommend any meditation apps? Or because when your brain starts going, it can be very scary. So if somebody's thinking, what if, and they get into a panic, would meditation be a good thing to do? Listen to a tape on YouTube, or
Yes, anything that calms you down. And so
walking, like you said before.
Yes. And you have to figure out what it is for you that works. Meditation might work for me. I have to get out of the house and walk, and just being in the sun and the yeah, it works for me. But when you're really in a moment of actual panic, you really need to practice breathing. And just one of the things I tell people is you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, and then a slow out for 4. So it's in your nose, hold 2, 3, 4, and then out your mouth. And what that does is, by doing that, do it like at least 3 times.
You can feel it
calms down the middle brain, so that your high heart rate, your sweating, your shallow breathing starts to calm down. Yeah. And then when you get that physical stuff to calm down, the mental stuff starts to calm down. So that's why breathing is so crucial when you're feeling overly anxious and stressed. You have to just slow the mind down and kind of take over, because it'll go on autopilot and run amok.
What a nice gesture it would be for businesses to pull you in as a coach and just calm the employees down. I mean, it is so needed right now. It's just really crazy. If somebody is watching this and would like to get in touch with you, how can they call you, get in touch?
Absolutely. So we've got a website. It's hpgsolutions.net. There we go. And you can reach out to me there. All our contact information is there. We have workshops, evening workshops. That's one of the great things from working from home now. We do weekends, one-on-one coaching, and we're willing to do discounts and things too, because for me, I think you got to have a purpose in life. And so I truly want to help people. I'm a small business owner as well. I know what you're going through. My mother's far away. I can't get to her. She lives alone. So we're all personally going through these in different ways. And if we can help each other through it, we'll get through it, but we'll get through it smoother if we help each other.
Davana, you gave us some spectacular coping tips. And I certainly appreciate you being on Open for Business and sharing your knowledge to the small business community. We need it. We really need it.
Yes, we do.
So thank you. And thank you for watching Open for Business.
Thank you.